This episode of Biters is brought to you by Tweaked Audio. To get awesome headphones, go to tweakedaudio.com and use the coupon code Southgate to get 30% off, free shipping, and a lifetime warranty. Or you can get there through the link on our website, southgatemediagroup.com.
Hey everybody, welcome to Biters. This is Dianne.
And this is Marnell.
And who are you now?
Oh, I'm the one who says don't make it weird.
That was a hilarious line.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
I just love them.
So we are podcasting The Walking Dead Season 9, Episode 6, entitled Who Are You Now? So what was your rating? What'd you think?
I really liked it, but I don't know why. I'm just I'm not feeling it. Like I don't know. 4.3 new dues.
Oh, now that's really funny because I initially rated it a 4 out of 5 because I was kind of like, it was good. It wasn't the best. It was good. And then on rewatch, it improved, so I rated it 4.34 out of 5 wormy walkers. There were a lot of new dudes, including Ezekiel going grayer.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, everyone's got a new do, and I like it better than the mullet, Eugene, but I'm not sure about the long rat tail braid.
It looks like it's not very well cared for.
Yeah, I don't understand the point of it.
It looks like it's braided and then forgotten. It almost looks like one of those white girl dreads that started out as a braid and then kind of turned into a dread.
See, and it reminds me of a rat tail. It's a little thicker than a rat tail, but he still kind of has the shorter sides and front and top and everything. So to me, that says rat tail. And if you grew up in the 80s...
You know what that is.
Especially anywhere in the South, you know what that is.
Right?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I don't know that I like it, but I think it's a little improvement over the Texas top hat.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Carol's hair on the other hand, I'm not digging it.
Because it makes her look older.
It makes her look older, and it's not practical. She's not the practical warrior Carol that we all know and love.
Right? I heard someone else say that, or I read that somewhere else, and I thought that was a valid point, that with all that hair, she's a liability in the zombie apocalypse.
Yeah. Definitely.
I mean, the same could be argued for Michonne and Ezekiel and could have been argued all along. We're just bashing on Carol because it's new.
Yeah, and what's funny is like I've been binging the Eli Roth series that comes on afterwards.
Uh-huh.
And they've had a lot of interviews with Jamie Lee Curtis. And so I go from watching Carol with her long flowy silver hair and then Jamie Lee Curtis in the new Halloween movie with long flowy silver hair. And I'm like, wow, they could play sisters.
I was going to say, and they kind of are similar looking women. So yeah.
Negan got a shave and a haircut.
Daryl did not.
Daryl's still like chopping off his hair in chunks with a Bowie knife.
He looks skankier than ever.
Yeah. I can't imagine how bad that tent smells.
Oh, God.
I love Daryl, but he needs to bathe in that river and not just catch fish.
It's kind of an open air tent, though, so maybe it doesn't retain scent as bad as we think it does.
I think everything retains scent at this point. Although, would you really smell people's body odor when there are literal corpses walking around?
A good point. Although I think he probably smells like swamp and trout at this point.
And dogs soon.
And dogs soon, which will be an upgrade.
Exactly. Don't mind the smell of dog.
Well, I have a few numbers. So I did want to reiterate the numbers from last week. So live plus same day for last week was 5.4 million. Actually 5.41 if you want to get technical. It was 5.4 million for this week.
Holding steady without Rick.
Yeah. So I thought that was kind of good. I was glad to see there wasn't a drop off.
Good.
I could not find any live plus 3 for last week. I could not find any live plus 7 for last week. So I'll try to keep an eye out for those because it would be interesting to see if the Rick finale grows, as I'm sure it will, in those DVR numbers.
I just think it's funny it didn't shrink because of all the people who are like, I'm never watching this show again.
Right?
You are. You know it.
I don't know, man. There's still quite a bit of mixed report about it. I've listened to a few different podcasts. We've gotten a couple of comments.
I'm liking it.
Yeah, I'm not going to jump. I mean, I've said it before. I'll say it again. I'm here till the bitter end. So,
and like, I thought it was funny the way they took Rick out with not killing him when they teased killing him this entire time. And like, I thought it was funny. Just because it made everyone so mad.
Well, and you know me. I mean, I kind of was on the side of let's just kill the poor guy and get it over with. But I also understand wanting to monetize and market the Rick Grimes movies. And of course, I will watch them. So.
And now that he's off, it's just like Fear the Walking Dead, where we've like flipped the script, jumped 6 years, and we're getting a whole new cast of characters. And we haven't seen a lot of our other characters this episode.
We've really flipped the script.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm digging it. Right now, I think it's a little middle booky.
Yeah, I agree.
There's still a lot going on. They're building towards something.
Right. There was still so much good. I have so much to talk about in this episode.
I know. Like, my bad is such a minimal bad that it's barely worth talking about. So, yeah.
So maybe we actually should be rating this even higher than we are.
We should, but it's just, I don't know. There wasn't anything real exciting, and there was some little things that annoyed me, but, you know.
I don't know. I just listened to a couple of podcasts about this episode on the way home, and they were really harsh, and I was like, God, maybe I'm too much of a Pollyanna.
I'm digging the Reconstruction vibe, you know? Like the windmill and the little market and people in cart and buggies and, you know, the way post-apocalyptic should be, you know? None of this, we're still driving around in cars and our flashlights still have fresh batteries. None of that. Like, we're over that. It's the 1800s, you know?
Yep, I agree.
With solar panels.
So the title came from the interrogation with the council. Gabe asks our new folks, and who are you now?
Yes.
But I also think, you know, that it can be broadened to who are our characters now. Yeah, they're so, you know, in some ways they're very much still the same people, but in some ways they are so changed. Yeah,
it's not just their hair that changed. Yeah. I mean, Negan's a totally different person now. I mean, he was pretty pathetic the last time we saw him, and now he's joking with Judith.
Right, he was kind of cordial. He was kind of pleasant.
Yeah. And, like, Father Gabriel's getting around. Yeah. I think who we are now applies to everybody. And even
Father Gabriel's
even not just
a hoe. And good for him. It is the apocalypse after all.
Spread the faith.
Oh my God.
But I mean, it doesn't even just apply to the individuals. It applies to the communities now too, because it seems like we're a little fractured, from what we could glean a little bit from what Ezekiel was saying is that they're doing this festival to try and bring the communities back together.
Right. I agree. I don't think they're enemies, but they're obviously not as close as they once were.
Right. And that, in the beginning, I was like, why haven't they rebuilt the bridge? But now I'm like, that's why they haven't rebuilt the bridge.
Okay, but I am so getting into rotting potpourri already.
Okay.
You completely called it. Who said the Rick Grimes Memorial Bridge? You did. You did. Where did we see Michonne having her first conversation with Rick? The Rick Grimes Memorial Bridge.
Yep. And baby Rashone.
Right, which we'll get into that.
Nailed it.
We'll get into that, because there's a lot to be said about baby Rashone. So, just real quick, I don't have tons on the writer and director. I feel like I kind of fell down a little bit this week, but our writer is a person named Eddie Gazelian. And Eddie wrote 3 episodes of The Walking Dead and was executive story editor for 7. And it looks like Eddie has a director credits for lots of different, like, kid stuff and cartoons and maybe some anime, maybe some manga type of stuff.
That's super interesting. Maybe that's why there's so many kids now in the apocalypse. Is the writer is a children's writer.
I don't know, but it definitely looked like the experience that the writer had skewed more to teens and tweens, generally speaking, than hard-bitten apocalyptic dramas.
Right?
Right.
I am seeing that.
And then
he's written
go ahead.
He's written a couple of Kim Possible episodes.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was a little after my time, but I recognize it.
I recognize it. It was definitely after my time. And then our director, Larry Tang, I think is Thomas O'Mara's friend. Because wasn't Thomas saying that he worked on Medium with Larry Tang?
That sounds familiar.
He will correct us if we're wrong.
Sure.
And Larry Tang also has credits for like Arrow and Supergirl. So we've talked a little bit about Larry before.
Okay, I do have to say this Eddie guy, the writer.
Do you think it's a guy or a girl? I didn't see. So
I would say a guy, Eddie. He's got like all of these like writing credits for like Peter Rabbit and the Penguin of Madagascar and things like that. And then right smack in the middle in 2014, he was a writer on a movie called Blood Punch.
Okay, that's pretty funny.
It's super random. It's just right in the middle of all this kids stuff. And when you look at it, it looks like it could be like the cover of a Walking Dead. A young man is lured into a dangerous love triangle that begins to take a series of shocking and grisly supernatural turns. And it's like him and a girl standing in front of a pile of bodies. Are you looking it up?
No, I noticed that Thomas O'Mara was on, so I'm asking him if Larry is his friend, and he is confirming that yes, in fact, he is.
Okay, good. Yeah, that sounded familiar.
Blood Punch.
Right? Super rando.
Yeah, it definitely seemed like our writer and director had some random credits this time. I would agree. So I'm going to have you take us into featured cast, because I think you probably did more work and have more interesting things to share than I do.
Yes and no. She's a bit elusive. So our featured cast member, and we had an embarrassment of riches this week because there were so many new cast members. We had a hard time settling on one.
And now we have to make sure that we get them all in before we lose somebody.
Right. So I settled on Magna because the title of the episode, Who Are You Now, really applies to her. because we see Michonne call her out on her prison tattoo. And, who is she now? We're all obviously not the same people we were going into the apocalypse. And I want to say that the council's questions, who are you now, doesn't disqualify you. Like they kind of do a play on the old, how many walkers have you killed?
Right.
How many people have you killed and why? And if you admit the things that you did to survive, that's not a disqualifying thing, And so I think her character, of course, is going to be very intriguing, and it's got a huge story arc in the books. The whole new cast of characters that we have now does. So she is played by a young woman named Nadia Hilker, who is 29.
German.
She is German. She was born in Bavaria, Munich. And she's 29, but she started acting when she was 19. And a lot of her first, I think her first dozen credits are German movies and TV. So I'm not even going to bother. Yeah, I'm not even going to bother pronouncing them.
Oh, you're not willing to try your German?
No, you're the one who speaks German.
Oh, no, I don't speak German. I speak a little bit of Russian and a little bit of French. No German.
Okay.
I can fake it.
You translated the German title of the Preacher episode for me,
That's
though.
because I looked it up.
Okay.
So I will say, I've said it before, I'll say it once again. Nadia Hilker is ripped from the pages of the comic book. They did such a good job casting her.
Absolutely. If you look at her side by side, yeah, definitely. And the actress just also not only looks wise, but her everything fits this role. I mean,
oh yeah, she's totally believable as Magna.
Yeah. Thus far, I totally believe her,
Yeah.
and I really want to like her, but I kind of think it's going to be one of those where she's a very loving and loyal person to her group, not our group, her group. So we'll see.
I was going to say there's so much to get into.
I know, right?
So did you check out any of her social media?
I did. Her Instagram is very artsy and whimsical and fun. She's got a lot of really cool pictures on there. Her Twitter is a lot of her acting stuff and people like Walker Stalker Con New Jersey, I think. She's going to be there. So there's a lot of that retweeted on her page. But there's not a lot of personal stuff. There's a couple pictures. There's one picture that I think that you would find funny because Dianne has felted me a creepy bunny mask.
Which I still need to get in the mail to you.
You have to do it before we podcast with Phil because I said I was going to wear it on the show.
Right. Except now you've ruined it because Phil actually does listen to Biters from time to time. So.
Oh, but he has no idea what the creepy bunny mask looks like. But if you want to know what it kind of looks like, she's got a picture and her of the guy who plays Luke wearing these creepy, I think she's in a wolf mask and he's in a creepy bunny mask.
Oh, cool.
And then there's a post of, it's just a 15-second what we do between takes on The Walking Dead, and it's somebody basically giving her a chiropractic adjustment. I was like, oh.
That seems legit. Considering everything they do physically for those roles, that seems legit.
Right? And it wasn't a professional one. It's like the one that your friend does. Just oh my God, just crack my back, But I was like, oh, that's so funny. It's just there's little moments. There's a dancing video with her and Angel Theory. There's just some really fun stuff.
So Angel Theory is a choreographer.
She is.
Yeah.
She.
Not to spoil what might be a featured cast member in the future, but
right. She was actually when I watched the other night, I was like, oh my God. And when she was on The Talking Dead, I was like, I really want to do her. And I looked up all of her social media and a bunch of stuff about her. And I'm like, then I totally flipped it and was like, no, we need to go with Magna.
Maybe next week.
Right, right. I'm super excited about her. She's adorable. I love her.
I
But
think our whole new cast group is really great. I really like them all so far. The only one that we haven't really gotten a big taste of yet is Yumiko.
right, which spoiler alert in the books, Nadia or Magna and Yumiko are girlfriends.
Yeah. And I
So
kind of got that feeling here, but I don't know that for sure.
yeah, and a little bit, I don't know if it was just like concern for her friend. You know, she was like, I want to go to the infirmary with her. And they, of course, didn't let her. But she was right there by her side as soon as she could.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So I'm sure we'll see a little bit of that. But so Nadia Hilker speaks German, French, and English. She studied a little bit of economics in college. I couldn't find where she ever got her degree, but I think she's doing all right for herself without it.
Which, by the way, her English is freaking impeccable.
Yeah,
I had no idea that she was not American.
right. She has no accent.
I agree.
Yeah. So she was discovered by a modeling agent in ballet school. And as soon as she started acting, she completely dropped modeling and was like, this is what I want to do with her life. And her father, who works in IT, and her mother, who works for a German airline, encouraged her to follow her dream. So she's been acting since the age of 19, and she's got some solid work to her name. The first American thing that I can see her in is In the Gallery, which is a short in 2014. But then she was in a horror movie called Spring, which she actually won a Fright Meter Award.
Oh, very cool.
Which is an award in the horror genre. So she won an award for that. But her big credits for the U.S. are the movie Allegiant, which is the third movie from Divergent, Insurgent, and then Allegiant.
Which,
and
by
then
the
they
way,
never made.
I love those books.
I love those books too, and I'm really disappointed they're not going to make the fourth movie.
Yeah.
Which is funny because her and Bill Skarsgård, who are both in Allegiant, they have done a lot of press for the movie, or they did at the time, and they talked about being excited to film the fourth in the series. And like, as far as they knew when they were doing all this press for it, like the fourth movie was greenlit and we were all good to go. And I think Shaina Woodley backed out.
I think what happened, and not to get political about it, but I think that Shailene Woodley's political views got in the way and they ended up tanking the series because of politics.
Well, and I don't think Allegiant did that well in theaters too. And so they were just like, man, it's not worth it. So we'll probably see a reboot of the whole series in like 4 years with new actors.
I need to watch the other two. I watched the very first one and I thought it was good. I thought it did reasonable credit to the series. But again, I just really loved the series.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was one of those. I was the book snob. I had read the book before I saw the movie, which is usually not the case. But that was one. I don't know. I love teen lit. Like, yeah.
So I have to say, I was pretty impressed with Nadia Hilker that she like made the leap from German TV to now one of the biggest TV shows on American television.
You know, and she said, someone asked her, how did you get your start in the U.S.? And she's like, I basically just sent the U.S. agent my tape.
Wow.
She's like, I sent my tape into somebody in L.A. and I had work. And so her next biggest credit is the show, the TV series, The 100.
Now, I can't remember. Have you watched that?
I love that show.
Okay.
But so I'm like a season and a half behind, and that season and a half contains her character Luna. So I actually have not seen her on the show, but the show is amazing for female characters. So I have no doubt that she does well.
And what's the premise of the show?
I forget how we have a whole bunch of people in space at the time, and the world goes through basically all-out nuclear fallout, and the only surviving humans are the ones that are on these space satellites and space stations.
Oh, wow.
And they sort of all come together and cobble together like they're able to survive. And we're a couple of generations in, and there's really no way to deal with people who break the laws on the space stations other than confinement. Well, you can only put so many people in confinement, and they're taking up air, and they're taking up food, and they're taking up water, and they're not doing anything productive. So they decide to send all of the teenage prisoners, basically, to Earth to see if it's habitable yet. And so they send all these kids to Earth, only to find out that humans did survive, only it's like super post-apocalyptic, where people are basically almost feral and tribal, and and so you have all these people who've been living on a space station go into some place where there's a whole bunch of like tribalist people, and they call them the sky people and everything. But yeah, it's a really good episode. But a lot of the societies, the tribal societies, are ruled by women.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and you've got like mutant deer and all kinds of like crazy like monsters that like come out of the water, and you've got like poisonous mist that comes from the mushrooms, poisonous spores and things like that. So life that we know of it on Earth is completely not what it was, how we know it now. So yeah, it's really amazing. Danger at every turn, and love and loss and violence and just cool stuff. It's a good show.
Kind of sounds like The Walking Dead.
It does.
Minus the zombies.
Minus the zombies, yep.
Including a few mutants, probably.
Oh, but yeah, so her, like I said, her Twitter doesn't have a whole lot on it. Her Instagram, I love some of her pictures. I think she's got a French bulldog that's adorable. There's a couple of pictures of her with a French bulldog. So
I like that you described it as whimsical. That is not often a word that we use with social media, so I'm happy to hear that. I'll have to follow her.
Well, there's like these very like artsy looking photos, and there's some poetry, and like there's even one photo where it kind of looks like her and somebody else are dressed up for Halloween, but it actually might even be a movie set. And it's kind of blurred, and the eyes are glowing red or yellow or something, just because it's a bad photo. But it just looks so artsy. Like, yeah, it's her Instagram is very fun and whimsical. So she is dating somebody named Mark Herbig, who only has one IMDb credit for something that's filming. So I'm not quite sure what he does, but they've been together for a really, really long time. And a lot of the photos of him on her Instagram, he's like turned to the side or something. So they keep their relationship very low key and very low profile. So yeah, but they seem happy.
Well, she's amazing. She is gorgeous. I am just looking through her IMDb or her Instagram right now, and wow.
Yeah, and like I said, I think in one of the last episodes, those are her tattoos in real life.
Yeah, Thomas was saying that. He said that ink is real.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It just works for her. Like, it's, even if you don't like tattoos on women, like, they're just beautiful. They add to her beauty.
They're very graceful and very delicate.
Yes, very feminine.
Yep.
So, yeah, there is not a whole lot out there about her. She keeps a very low profile, but if you notice the tags in her Instagram pictures, she gets around. She's in like LA and New York and Germany and France and
Georgia.
I love that all of the new characters so far that I've looked up have a picture of their chair on set with their character name on it.
Oh, that's super cool.
It's just this cute point of pride that they all seem to have.
Well, it's a big deal.
It is. It is. This is going to be huge.
Yeah.
And there, like I said, there's not a lot out there on her, but there's really not a lot out there on a couple of the other characters that I've looked up. So, yeah, very sparse, but super interesting.
Very cool.
Yeah, happy to have him on the show.
Well, for Whisperer's Corner, I had a couple of things. I just wanted to say, first of all, that we lost Stan Lee this week.
I know. I'm so sad.
Yeah, we all owe a giant debt to Stan Lee. I mean, all of us sitting here, we're sitting here because of a comic book, and Stan Lee is the reason that comic books lived in the 20th and 21st century.
Mm-hmm.
So...
And diverse comic books.
Yeah, I agree.
Comic books that brought us characters that we normally would not have seen.
And comic books that really brought the comic book into an adult industry.
Right.
Not just something that teenage kids were reading.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would say the pioneer of the graphic novel.
Yeah. I don't have anything profound to say, except he's going to be terribly missed. And I am going to miss all of those cameos in the Marvel Comic Universe movies.
I think he filmed the one for Avengers 4, but there's one that's coming up that he didn't get a chance to film. But that doesn't mean they won't pay homage to him.
Right.
There's one movie, and I can't remember what movie it is, where it's only a picture of him in the background. So I kind of hope that they continue doing that, where, it'll just be, and of course, nowadays you can insert anybody through CGI into a movie. So right. I'm sure he's filmed random little moments, but maybe it'll just be the voice of an operator on the other end of the phone. But I really hope they continue to put him in the movies.
That would be really cool. I would really like that too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So another thing that I wanted to mention, I got a friend invitation on Facebook from a guy named Peter Meredith, and I looked him up, and he is an author of a zombie series on Amazon. I'm sure it's available through other book outlets available through other book outlets as well, and through other e-reader outlets. But it's called Generation Z. And I have read the first one. I'm reading the second one right now, and I've got to say I am genuinely enjoying them.
Generation Z by Peter Meredith?
Yep. So if you're looking for a fun zombie read that has some really interesting characters and some slightly different conventions from what we're used to, I would recommend them.
Interesting. It's a series of books, or
so he apparently had a series of books that this is a spin-off from. So I'm actually reading this series because this is the one that I saw the ad for initially when I looked him up. But apparently he's got another series that predates this one, so I'll probably seek that one out as well.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. I'm really enjoying it. The characters are really interesting. They're all pretty young people. A couple of them are people who grew up after the apocalypse happened. But I'm really enjoying the very interesting characters that he's created and the interesting zombie conventions that he's created as well.
Can you give us an example without giving anything away?
Well, this is not too spoilery. It's a little bit spoilery, but the zombies keep getting bigger. So part of their mutation is that they grow and grow and grow. So some of these zombies are horrifyingly large.
Oh my God, that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And
we'll have to check that out.
One of our characters, who is teeny tiny, she's a 15-year-old girl, goes up against one of the largest zombies.
Huh. That's really cool.
Yeah. So, and it's a relatively small part in the story, but it's a significant part in the story.
Awesome. Well, if you're listening, hello, Peter Meredith.
Yeah.
And welcome.
And if you're not listening, if anyone out there knows Peter Meredith, let him know that we talked about him on Fighters because I'm really enjoying the books.
Very cool. You'll have to like give him a review, some feedback on one of his platforms.
Yeah, I have to go on Amazon and review one of his books because I really, really like them a lot. And I did let him know. I messaged him privately on Facebook and told him that I had downloaded this first book and was really enjoying it. And I've been really struggling for something to read, so to find something that I'm really enjoying has been a blessing.
Oh, I wish I were struggling for something to read. There's so much that I need to read, but I watch so much TV and I listen to so many podcasts.
Oh, it's not that I don't have tons of books on my Kindle, don't get me wrong, but you know how you go through phases and you go through moods? And you think you're going to read something and you're like, why am I reading this?
I love when I discover a series of books that there's like 10 of them out already. Because if I start one, I will devour all of them. I hate waiting for the next book. I love when they're all right there. Because like I read in chunks. I'm one of those that, you know, I'll be up at like 1 a.m. just one more chapter. And I'm like, oh, I'm only 3 chapters from the end. I'll just finish this book. And when I finish the book, I'm like, oh, I have to start the next book now.
Well, that's kind of where I'm at with these. Although they are so meaty that I read them in chunks and it's taking me a while to get through them. And not because I'm not reading in them and not because I'm not enjoying them, but because there's a lot. There's a lot to them.
I'm a slow reader. I actually read very well aloud. And I think that is because I'm a slow reader, but I'm one of those people that imagines everything that's going on in detail. I'll even add detail that's not there on the written page. So I tend to be kind of a slow reader. I wish I could speed read, but I can't. I get too involved.
Okay. Do you have a Kindle?
I do.
Are you in anything right now?
No.
You should download the first book.
Okay. I wrote it down.
Good, because I'm really enjoying it, and I would love to hear what you think about it.
I'll have to find the time.
So the other stuff that I kind of have for Whisperer's Corner actually goes into some of the stuff in my Good, Bad, and Ugly, so I'm not going to go into it right now.
Well, I think there's something that we should address in the Whisperer's Corner that I actually didn't know last episode. I didn't know until we finished podcasting.
Okay.
So we all know that last episode was Rick's last episode, but it was also Lauren Cohan's last episode for this season.
We talked about that a little bit, and we weren't sure it was for this season. You know,
yes,
if there's a possibility she's coming back next season.
Right. I think that it's not finalized yet, that they're hoping to bring her back to tie up some storyline, but it didn't sound like tie up her storyline as in like kill her off,
right,
but kind of tie up her storyline as in move her away from the show, because she has other things in the works, but not that she was going to be off the show, just that she was going to be taking extended breaks from the show.
They wanted to see if there was any way they could make the scheduling work for her to do Whiskey Cavalier and this show.
Right.
And Whiskey Cavalier is a mid-season pickup. I did look that up. It's supposed to be on, I believe, in January.
Yeah, I think that's what I found too. It's January. So it was kind of disappointing last week to have all this fanfare for Rick's dying. It's his last episode. And then he didn't really die. And then, oh, by the way, no more Maggie this season.
Right. I have to agree. One of the things that I felt really badly about was that I felt like Lauren Cohan's exit was really overshadowed by Andy Lincoln's exit.
Yeah. Yeah. And I really hope that they are able to bring her back next season.
Woohoo, Farm Girl.
Yeah. And I mean, what is it? Just Jesus taking care of Hilltop now? Like, who's taking care of Hilltop?
Well, so there is an interview with Angela Kang on Hollywood Reporter, and she says that there is a female leader at Hilltop. So there's some speculation that it's Tara.
Enid?
There's some speculation that it's Enid.
Yeah. Huh. I kind of see Tara as an Oceansider.
Oh, yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, she's kind of got an in with the Oceanside gals. So
I could see that. So maybe it is Enid.
Yeah, I could. I feel like that Enid was sort of being mentored by Maggie.
She was. I definitely agree that she was.
Yeah, she's a little young to be in charge of an entire community, but I guess with Jesus helping her out and a couple of other people,
And the other thing is, we've got that 6-year time jump.
Oh, that's true.
So all of a sudden, Enid is quite a bit older.
Yeah, she's probably like early 20s.
I would say mid-20s even.
Yeah, so, I mean, going back 100, 200 years ago, if she were a man, she'd be the owner of a plantation.
So it makes sense that she's in charge of Hilltop.
I just watched the Eli Roth one about the show about vampires, and they did a whole thing on
Lestat.
Interview with a vampire. And so now I'm channeling Louis, who a young man of 23. I was the owner of a vast plantation.
Well, should we get into Groveler's Corner?
We should.
So we have a lot of groveling to do about forgetting to do our feedback.
Listener feedback.
Yeah.
In our defense, how long was the last episode? It was over 2 hours, wasn't it?
I think it was like an hour and a half, maybe a little over an hour and a half, but we went for quite a while.
Yeah, so I feel bad that we didn't do the listener feedback, but also it was just, we went so long last episode with Thomas that, and talking about Rick's last episode and everything, that I kind of was, Dianne and I got off recording and went, oh no! I had screenshotted it and all the listener feedback and everything. I was completely prepared, and then it was just like totally passed it over.
Well, I've got them pulled up. And so the first response was from Nathan Welty, and he said, "Quick, Rick, find a dumpster to hide under. The writers were cowards, and this was one of the worst things since the dumpster and the point of view shot with Negan's bat."
And I had completely forgotten about the POV with Negan's bat. Mm-hmm. Oh, that is such a great callback, Nathan. Like, I completely agree with it. I must have blocked it out because it was so terrible. The dumpster thing was fine once. The person's dying. Oh, no, they're not. They're under a dumpster. But pulling it with Rick was dirty pool.
And I've got to tell you, as much as I am completely on board, I'm still struggling with Rick being alive. As much as I'm going to watch the movies, I'm still struggling with Rick being alive.
But also, here's the thing. Only Jadis knows that he's alive. Nobody else knows. There's not even a body. Like, they assumed that he's either a walker or he went downstream, or...
But we know that he's alive, and we know that 6 years has gone by and he hasn't made it back to his family.
But I love that, like, there's no question in their minds that, like, it's not like maybe he'll come back someday, like Heath.
I agree with that.
But it's for them, it is completely final.
I do agree with that.
Yeah. So
it's not final for us, the viewers, but it's final for everybody in the communities on The Walking Dead.
Yep.
Let's see. We also had a response from Diane Lasorsa. She said, "Thought the episode was beautifully done. The flashbacks were amazing. My favorite scene was Rick on the dead bodies straight from the comic book cover. I liked the way they showed the blast and left you hanging for the commercial and then came back to Jadis. I looked at the clock and it said, no, there's 8 minutes left. I figured the helicopter was coming into play. Great show. So what does this mean? So does this mean that Jadis has left the show too? Also heard this was Lauren's last episode. Angela Kang confirmed.
Right.
And she is right. Angela Kang did confirm that. And my understanding is that Pollyanna McIntosh is at least going to be in the first Rick movie.
I was going to say, I think that I had heard Pollyanna McIntosh also will not be in the rest of season 8.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't say anything about, season 9. Didn't say anything about season 10. So I can't imagine that they would be able to bring her back unless she also feigns, oh, Rick is dead, unless she pretends and just lets everyone think that he's dead. So I can't imagine her coming back to the show.
Yeah, I don't think she is. I think she's going to be on the Rick movies, at least on the very first one. Right.
That's a really good thing to point out, Diane. I Diane LaSorsa, not my sister Diane. I didn't even think about her with everything that was going on. I didn't think about Jadis.
So we also have a post from Susan McManus, and it says, really enjoyed the podcast on Rick's last show. Omara had recommended it on the cruise group, and I've added it to my stations. We'll definitely listen to more. So I wanted to say thank you to Susan and to all of the other people who have liked our page in the last week. We've gotten quite a few new likes.
Yes. Welcome, new listeners.
Yeah.
Seeing how there's another Walking Dead podcast that will no longer be podcasting.
Oh, stick the knife in and twist it.
I can't believe that they're not. So maybe we'll help fill the gap for some people.
Well, and in fairness, I will say, so we are talking about Walker Stalker podcast and their last episode podcast this week, but they are going to a video format. So if people are fans of Walker Stalker podcast and want to continue with it, it sounds like you can find a YouTube channel for them over the next couple of weeks.
It's so interesting how many podcasters have gone to YouTube formats and how many YouTube casters also have an audio podcast to, it's just funny how they're crisscrossing, one bleeds into the other. I find it easier to listen to podcasts, because I do
too, because I'm usually driving.
Yeah.
So.
And I'm usually working. So I'm trying not to look at my phone. I just have my headphones on. I'm listening. So interesting.
Hi, everyone. I hope you're enjoying the podcast. If you're anything like me, I know you're going to shop at Amazon this holiday season. When you do, please go to southgatemediagroup.com first and click on the Amazon ad in the upper right-hand corner. That'll take you directly to Amazon, just like normal, but it will also help our podcast network out. When you do that, our network gets a little commission on everything you buy on that visit. The best part is, it won't cost you a penny. You get the same great deals. You can even use Amazon Prime just like you normally do, but we get a tiny little sliver of what you spend. This is how we pay to keep the podcast coming. If you could remember to do this, it would have really helped support this show and our whole network. Thanks so much for listening. Thank you so much for your valuable time. And now, back to the show.
But so we definitely had a little bit of groveling to do, and we've got a little bit of feedback about this week's episode tonight, but I thought I'll keep it up and we'll save that for the end.
Well, and we've also had long dialogues going on with Victoria Morris, too. She said, so that's not what I was expecting at all. I liked it, though. I loved the throwbacks. I laughed out loud at Shane saying, she's got my eyes. And it was great to see Herschel and Sasha. I thought everything from the moment when he imagined his family were coming to save him was excellent. I really felt the panic and urgency of the people running to reach him, and I thought Daryl was quite calm while he picked off the walkers to try and keep him safe. It was very well done. I cried from the point that Michonne screaming and completely fell to pieces when Daryl turned away and walked away.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, that was the point the single tear rolled down my face. Overall, I loved the idea that he was going to die to save them, all in true Rick style. Damn saviors and their excellent bridge building skills. I'm not sure how I feel about him being saved by the mysterious helicopter. I did want him to die, but sometimes it's better not to get what you want. Still, I'm up for it. If it's going to lead to something interesting, some interesting things with the Queen Heapster and mysterious helicopter people. Let's see. Oh, I cut off part of her stuff.
She says, I'm pretty excited about the big time jump too. How many years do you think? 3, 4? I love that Judith is going to feature as a key character now. I think I need some time to digest everything. I'm off to watch The Talking Dead. Look forward to the podcast.
There we go. Yep.
So we do have it confirmed by Gimple that it's a 6-year time jump, and I think Angela Kang confirmed that as well.
Yes.
So Judith was about 4, 4.5, and now she's right around 10.
Yeah. And Gracie's 8.
Right.
Right. I just loved when she was like, Daddy!
Yes, I did
adorable.
too. It was awesome.
So Diane LaSorsa also shared a photo of the intersection where Rick was impaled on the rebar.
Oh, she did. I missed that.
Yeah, she said, I thought I would share a photo when I was in GA this summer. We heard they filmed at this intersection. Who knew it would be Rick's last moments? Unfortunately, all the cement blocks and rebar were not there.
There you go.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's very cool. So I also talked a little bit back and forth with Victoria Morris about wanting to see Zeds in Alaska and see what happens after they freeze and thaw. So we talked a little bit about that. And then she recommended that if you want to go back and look at some old stuff that Andy Lincoln has been in, she said the series you need to look for in Andrew Lincoln's credits is This Life. It made him a household name in the UK. Very 90s about trainee lawyers, solicitors. Also starred Jack Davenport, was unmissable TV at the time. And she posts a picture of him and he looks so young.
He looks like a baby.
Yeah. And then she posted a picture of him from Teachers, which is an episode or a series rather, that I was saying that he apparently went and understudied with his brother, who is actually a teacher. I looked to see if I could find them, and I can't find them on Netflix. I did not look on Amazon. But we may be out of luck as Americans, as colonists.
Well, they have this thing now. It's called the BritBox.
Oh, really?
Have you seen this?
I have not.
You can stream all of your favorite British television shows with the BritBox.
And how much do you pay for that?
I don't know. I've seen the advertisements, but I do watch some British television. And there's some that I'm super interested in. There's I think there's this show called Garglebox or something, where it's basically Mystery Science Theater style, where it's just people watching TV. You're watching people watch TV, but of course they're having interactions with the other people and they're talking about the show. So I'm just wow, we're down to watching people watch stuff.
Or we're back to watching people watch stuff.
Yeah. 'Cause like I said, I haven't seen it. I've heard it talked about, so I imagine it's Mystery Science Theater style, where they're making jokes about whatever campy thing that they're watching. But yeah. So you Doctor Who. You can't watch Big Brother anymore because it's no longer on, but
didn't you say that Netflix had picked it up?
Netflix was looking at picking it up, although there were a ton of people who were outraged by it because they didn't want to have to pay to watch it. I'm like, doesn't everyone already have Netflix?
And doesn't everyone have to pay to watch whatever they want to watch? Aren't we at that point?
I would rather a la carte. I would rather pay for the things that I want to watch.
I agree.
802 channels that I have that I don't watch.
I agree. All I want is HGTV at Halloween because you ruined me, or the Food Network. Sorry, and AMC.
Oh my God, there's a gingerbread house one too.
The Halloween gingerbread house?
Yes.
Yeah, I watched it. Thanks.
Oh.
You totally ruined me.
And it's only the Halloween ones. Like, I don't like Christmas ones or anything like that. It's only the Halloween baking shows.
Yeah, no, I love them. They were great fun. You're terrible.
I have a great influence.
Well, shall we get into our goods, bads, and uglies?
I think so.
So tell me you're good.
So my good was Eugene. I am loving capable Eugene.
He's turned into a bit of a badass, hasn't he?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's been almost 10 years in the apocalypse. You know, it's about time that he start being able to handle 2 and 3 walkers at once, and, you know, slinging the deer over his shoulder, and just, I mean, he was always our go-to guy for like nerdy stuff, but now he's a proper badass.
Yeah, he's not soft anymore.
No, and I love it. And I kind of I feel like, is he slimmer? Did Josh slim down?
I think he slimmed down a bit. Yeah.
Okay, I think Jerry did too. And I mean, that would be a natural progression. I mean, you don't have access to processed foods, and you're working all the time, and it's super hot in Georgia. Like, I would imagine that there would not be a lot of people who weren't fit.
Yeah, it would be much more consistent.
Yeah, so not only is you know, he doing good, but Josh is really looking good. And like I said, like I'm over the mullet. I'm not quite feeling the braid. If you just chop that thing off, I think he'd have a shot with Rosita.
But if we just chopped it off, then it would be back to a mullet.
No, if you chop the whole thing off, no long in the back. It's
like
just
Negan.
Yeah.
Like a buzz cut.
Maybe a little more wavy, kind of like Aaron a little bit.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, a little bit longer, not quite a buzz cut, but yeah, I just like every scene that he was in, he stole the show for me this episode.
Oh, excellent.
When we first see him and he's got the deer slung over him, and then he takes out the walkers and everything, to him and Rosita in the buggy, talking to
and
the
him kind of saying, "Oh, there are other people that you can choose from."
I love
no one
that.
Specific, just some general ideas.
Speaking.
Yeah.
He's still, you know, I joke that he would have a shot with Rosita. I think Rosita will forever see him as her dumbass little brother. But he still carries the torch for her. I cannot imagine that 6 years in that, you know, he's this go-to guy, you know, and he always kind of has been, but he's a little more brawny about it now, that he hasn't found another woman. I mean, Gabriel's found 2 women.
Gabriel gets around.
I know, right? Who'd have thunk that a guy with no depth perception, man of the cloth wielding a machete,
horrible
gets so
hat.
much action?
Yeah.
Oh, he's children the corn hat. Oh, I commented on that when he stepped out first. I was like, oh, really? We're still with the hat. But yeah, so, I mean, and, you know, in the end, when he was trying to get Rosita to, you know, basically, I'm going to go and get torn apart by the walkers. You make a run for it. And he starts, you know, admitting his feelings. What did he say? His testicular veracity or something?
Something like that. Working it up.
Yeah. So when even that part, and she's like, shut up, don't make it weird. I loved Eugene this episode. This, you know, I've complained about him in the past, and I'm really glad that he didn't die in all-out war, because this is the post-apocalyptic world that I've been wanting, and this is the Eugene that I've been wanting.
Yay. Good.
So what was your good?
So my good was actually the interrogation of the new group by the council. I really, really liked how each person had an opportunity to tell us who he or she is and was. And we didn't have to belabor it, but we got a really good backstory pretty quickly and in a pretty satisfying way.
Yeah. Yeah. I liked Luke's answer when he's like, I think I'm still a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was good.
It actually made me really love all of those characters, including Magna. I mean, I really thought that they were all really interesting and compelling. Although I have to be honest and say I completely misgendered Kelly. I thought Kelly was a guy.
Okay, so did my other half. And I was like, no, obviously female. But in the books, the character Kelly is a man.
Oh, really? Okay, I couldn't remember, but I totally misgendered Kelly. And even on the Talking Dead, I was kind of like, if you have to ask, you don't need to know.
Yeah, for some reason, I was just like, no, she's not very feminine looking or sounding, or even her mannerisms weren't very feminine, but it's still, I was like, okay, gender female,
And they're sisters, right? Connie and Kelly are sisters?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And we said we'd talk about it when their characters came up for the episodes, but I actually did not realize until Talking Dead that Angel Theory, who plays Kelly, who does the interpreting, she is also hard of hearing.
Mm-hmm. Which was really cool.
Yeah, because I mean, you don't get that effect because she's the one interpreting and she's speaking and listening and everything. So I don't know what the level of her disability is, and coming from someone who has been hard of hearing in their life. I actually, when I was 14, I had my tonsils and adenoids removed, and my tonsils and adenoids had been swollen so badly that I actually had lost 3/4 of the hearing in my right ear. So I actually was hard of hearing for some time in my teenage years. But so I mean, it was nothing that was ever noticeable for me because I could still hear, I could still hear people talking. I could still hear cars coming up behind me, things like that. So it never affected me like that. But I don't know the level of Kelly's disability, but I can't imagine being fully deaf in the apocalypse. That would just...
Right. So I do think one of the things that's really interesting is, what does that mean in terms of your survival and your awareness in threatening situations? Right.
You would have to make preparations for when you can't be hyper aware. So like when you're sleeping, you would be ultra vulnerable unless you're sensitive to the vibration.
So I wonder if maybe they take shifts. They must take shifts unless they're in a safe place like Alexandria.
Yeah. Even then, though, you'd never know. Because, I mean, someone could die in their sleep.
Yeah, totally. Good point. It's happened before. We've seen it happen.
Yep. But going back to the council, I noticed that and I had mentioned it earlier, they kind of did a play on the 3 questions that used to be asked of newcomers to the group. How many walkers have you killed? How many humans have you killed? And why? And that was always kind of the standard for a while. And now it's, who were you? Who are you? And what have you done to survive?
And I think, truthfully, they could all of the people sitting on the council could answer the questions the same way the people they were interrogating.
Right. I mean, just think of what these people have done to survive. I mean, how many humans did they kill? How many saviors did they kill?
Right. I mean, they're the ones who went to the savior compound and killed all of those saviors in their sleep.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, even to the point of, Hilltop basically being very stingy with their food crops because they had to feed their people. You can't feed everyone. You know, you have to make those tough decisions. Yeah, you want to be nice and charitable and good people, but you have to think of your people first. And it's not that you don't want to help the newcomers. It's not that you don't want to help everybody. It's that you can't help everybody. And you have to make those kind of life and death decisions. So, and like I said, I really don't think anything they could have said would have been disqualifying for living in Alexandria. You just had to be honest.
I agree.
Yeah.
So, what was your bad?
Okay, I will preface my bad by saying that my ugly and my bad are kind of the same.
Okay.
So,
as Thomas said last week, you always do that.
I do always do that. Because I don't know, I have a hard time looking at things as black and white. So my bad is also, there's a little bit of ugly in my bad, or there's a little bad in my, one of those. So
Judith, start with your bad so we don't get mixed up.
Well, Judith is my bad. And
okay.
It's not that it was bad. It's just that she seems to have a lot of sway for a 10-year-old.
Well, I was thinking about that, though. But what she did was she was basically like, if you don't take them with me, I won't go.
Oh, that's
so she kind of held everybody hostage by saying, you know, I'm the cherished princess and I'm the little kid. And if you don't listen to me, then I'm going to stay out here in the wilderness and get eaten by walkers.
Okay. The last time I ever tried to run away with her age, my mom helped me pack my bag.
But there were not living dead waiting to eat you outside the door.
I would have thrown that little girl over my shoulder and I'd have been like, we're going home and you're not leaving the confines of Alexandria until you can follow the rules, Missy.
Okay, but she also had a sword and a gun.
And you don't get those back either. Here's your math book. Go to your teacher, Negan.
Right.
But, and then, you know, they indulged her. I mean, when everyone was brought back to Alexandria and Michonne's like, you know, whose decision was this? And of course, Aaron tries to take responsibility and Michonne like overrules Aaron, not your decision to make. And Judith's like, well, it was mine. And Michonne like indulges her in that, like, Judith, you know the rules. Yeah, like, this little girl has way too much power for 10 years old. Like, this is a Ricktatorship with...
I was going to say, I think she probably also has special privilege because she's Rick Grimes's last... Well, not last, but she's Rick Grimes's child as far as everyone knows.
Right, but it's just... And she seems to be treated very differently. So, I mentioned earlier that Gracie is 8 and right. Judith is 10. And it did not look like they were training Gracie for battle with a sword and a gun.
No, Gracie came running out and Aaron was like, get back!
Yes. And so, you know, I'm not going to critique anyone's parenting styles because it is the apocalypse for one, and I don't know nothing about birth of no babies. So, but it just, and, you know, you saw it later with Michonne and Judith practicing with the swords.
Mm-hmm.
So Judith is being raised to be very different from the other children her age, maybe her and Henry a little bit, but even Henry doesn't have like the clout that Judith seems to have with everybody. Everyone just sort of like curtsies to her whims, you know? So I don't think that's a good thing for such a precocious young lady.
It will be interesting to see how it develops.
Yes, it will.
Because I don't see it changing. I see it continuing.
You know, and I think it might have been the Angela Kang interview that I think you were mentioning earlier.
The Hollywood Reporter one.
Yeah, I think she was saying that Judith is now the age of Carl
Mm-hmm.
in the books, and so I think she's kind of replacing that where she can.
She's definitely getting some of Carl's story, but I have more about that.
Okay, good. But yeah, so that's the only thing I can think of is, is she's the new Carl.
Yeah. She is at least partially the new Carl.
Right.
Yep.
Where applicable.
Yes. Although those little hands on that Colt Python, I'm not quite convinced.
I'm not quite convinced because Colt Pythons kick like a mule.
I'm not sure I could shoot a Colt Python. I
And
certainly at this point could not shoot it with any accuracy.
I was going to say, with the accuracy at the distance she was shooting. Yeah.
I would find a smaller pistol more believable, although I know it wouldn't have the same symbolism.
Right. Right. It's interesting that that's all they found of Rick. Because he was shooting that on the bridge and got blown away. So they had to have found his pistol somewhere. And that's all they have left of him. Bat in the hat.
Which was Carl's hat after a certain period of time, so that makes sense.
Right. Oh, and the wedding ring. Did you notice that Michonne was wearing his wedding ring?
As a necklace, right?
Yeah, there was an article that pointed out that they were like, how has she got his wedding ring on? Well, he wasn't wearing it for the entire last episode.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
I totally didn't see that.
I don't know if we go back and watch, if he will have deliberately not put it back on. I don't know if it's left up on the bed table or if he just forgot that day. But yeah.
Interesting.
Yep.
I'm not sure that I would wear my partner's wedding ring from his first marriage. I understand the sentimentality, but I'm not sure I would wear it from his first marriage. Yeah, because they never got married.
Are we sure? There was an 18-month time jump that we didn't see anything from.
No, I've read a lot of stuff and a lot of interviews that say that they never married.
Okay. Yeah, it is a little weird that it's his dead wife's.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was his. So
I can see the sentimentality from a certain point.
Yeah. So what was your bad?
So my bad was also relatively small, but it was basically no Hilltop. We don't know what happened to Maggie. We don't know what happened to Tara. We don't know what happened to Enid.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping we'll get some answers since it looks like we're heading toward Hilltop next episode.
But I don't think we get there.
I don't know. I didn't get a great sense from the trailers that I saw.
It looks like we are in the in-between of the two communities, and we're also going to focus on Daryl.
And do you realize we've only got 2 episodes left before the mid-season finale?
Yes.
Which is crazy.
Crazy.
This first half has totally blasted by.
It has.
I don't know. I think we should keep our promise and actually maybe do a Pollyanna McIntosh movie.
Oh, yeah. I've done a couple of them.
I know you have, and I haven't kept any promises, so maybe we should do that. I don't know. We'll have to talk.
Yeah.
But that was basically my bad. It wasn't very big, but it was just that I had so many questions and there were so many good payoffs, which I'll go into, but there were lots of things that weren't answered.
Yes. We like you said, we saw Kingdom and Alexandria, but
and the Saviors.
And the Saviors, Jed's dead. Jed Watch 2018 is over.
Which we'll have to get into that in Rotting Potpourri because it's not in my ugly unless it's yours.
No, it's not.
But I definitely have some questions about that too.
All right. Yeah.
So what was your ugly?
My ugly was also Judith.
Okay, I kind of figured you were going to say that since you said your bad and your ugly were one and the same.
Okay, for her having her little dictatorship over everybody, she kind of pulls it off. I absolutely loved the byplay between her and Negan. I love that she's hanging out with Negan. As much as I hated Negan, think he should have died, all of that, he's like the uncle that would like tell you the truth about everything, you know?
The inappropriate uncle.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so, but she just has her sassy little comebacks. I loved it when they were talking about the stray dogs.
Right.
And yeah, and she's like, yeah, and look how great everything turned out for you.
Right. And then when she's like, I just want you to help me with math, because math doesn't care if you're a good person or an out person on the inside, or a good person or a bad person on the inside.
The numbers don't care.
Yeah.
I love that. Like, I don't know where she is getting her sass, but keep going, girl.
Yeah, there was some great dialogue in this episode.
Yeah. Yeah. I just... So, like I said, Judith is my bad, but she was also my ugly. And it was kind of a good ugly because I'm digging it. Like, I am digging this post-apocalyptic, fully formed adult child with a mouth on her. Like, I love it, you know? And she's
kind of like you were when you were that age. Fully formed with a mouth on her.
I was that age. Let's be honest, I'm still like that.
You are still like that.
Super childish, but mouthy. The only difference is I can drink now.
I was going to say, and Lilith Hellfire found your perfect wine glass.
Oh, at Home Depot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to have to come visit me so I can take you to Home Depot.
I don't know how I'm getting that back. I have to buy a seat on the plane for it. Be like, how many little mini bottles does it take to fill this up?
How many big bottles does it take to fill it up?
Several gallons. So what was your ugly?
So my ugly is kind of comic book spoilery. So if people don't want to hear comic book spoilers, I would encourage them to forward ahead a little bit. It's not totally spoilery for the comic books though, because it really has to do with the pacing of the episode and the fact that we got so many payoffs in this episode.
Right. That's why I couldn't rate it low.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I really felt like there was so much that they covered. Like, so for the comics, for the arcs in the comics, Carl's arc was to go and study with the blacksmith. It looks like Henry is getting that arc now.
Yep.
Visually, right down to his arm, Aaron looks like Rick.
Right. I did write that down. He's got a wicked prosthetic.
Yes. The fair is an arc in the comic book. The ham radio that Gabriel is messing around with, that's an arc in the comic book. And of course, the Whisperers are a big arc. So
okay, I have something to say about the radios.
Okay.
Do you remember the episode that Gabriel was in that shack and they found the antibiotics and it kept him from going completely blind?
Vaguely.
Do you remember me pointing out that all of the ham radios that dude had in that house could not be just a throwaway scene?
Oh, no, I'm going to be honest and say no, but good on you. Good find.
It was season 8, episode 11. And it was just one of those, it was one of those where it was like, they found this shack in the middle of nowhere that has all this cool stuff in it. That's like, I guess it's camouflaged, but still, if you're out in the area, you're going to find everything within a such and such radius. And this guy's got, antibiotics and food and these radios, and he's got towers for the radios. And like, so we have talked about this, and I was like, oh my God, they have his ham radios. So, yeah, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I might be psychic too.
You called another one.
I will never point out when I've got it wrong. But That's what I have you all for. You can write in and tell me I got something wrong.
Please do. I mean, if we get something wrong or if you've got something to say, we love getting feedback. We may have to grovel and give it a week late, but that's fine. We'd much rather do that.
Oh, and you know what? I actually think when they cast Nadia Hilker as Magna, I think I mistakenly said she was cast as Alpha like 2 seasons ago or whatever. I think I called her Alpha, and she's not.
And Samantha Morton is cast as Alpha, who I'm sure we'll be talking about at some point as well.
Yeah.
Although it looks like maybe not until after the mid-season break.
Yeah, I can't imagine that they would reveal actual people.
So I wanted to go into a couple more payoffs in my ugly.
Oh, yeah, I totally interrupted you. Go ahead.
That's okay. So Carol and Ezekiel are married, which just totally got me in the feels.
Did you see your description on The Talking Dead?
No.
Oh, she described what she imagined their wedding would be like.
I kind of vaguely remember that now that you mention it. Like a parade down the main street of Hilltop,
Jerry would be right by his side, looking so proud.
Yeah,
and then King Ezekiel would talk for like 3 hours.
No, I'm glad that they did that. I'm glad that they brought that to those characters. That was really cool.
Yeah,
and then
I liked it.
The other payoff, the big payoff, is the Rochon baby.
Baby Rochon.
Oh,
RJ
my
for short.
God, RJ, which I've heard people speculate that that's Rick Grimes Jr.
Rick Jr.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
and he's adorable.
He is, but so here's the deal. Thomas O'Mara thinks that he may be like a hallucination of Michonne's because he doesn't look quite the right age.
I thought he seemed young. I was like, oh,
I did too.
Did Michonne have a baby with somebody else?
Because he looks like he's about 4-ish, and he should be 5.5-ish.
5.5.
Yeah. But, it's also one of those things where we didn't see him very much, and he was dressed in PJs that would infantilize him.
Right. And also, who are we to judge post-apocalyptic child growth rates? I mean, they don't have the benefits
Good point.
All of the nutrients. I mean, we're so used to seeing kids now where, they don't miss a meal.
Good point.
We have folic acid while we're pregnant and things like that. So, humans change over time depending on their conditions. Maybe he's just a small kid.
And the other thing is, I think Magna saw him. I don't think it was just a figment of Michonne's imagination. I do think Magna saw him through the window. And that was what made her decide to fold that knife up and give it to Michonne rather than to try to force a confrontation.
Right.
So I think that RJ is real, and I think that he is still real. I don't think he is a ghost that is now a figment of Michonne's imagination. I think he's real.
Nope.
And that Hollywood Reporter article that Angela Kang was in made it sound like he was the real deal as well.
Yeah, everything that I have seen talk about RJ, they have no question that he's not a figment.
But I'm super happy. The payoffs were so good in this episode, and it was great that we didn't have to wait for a whole bunch of information. It was great that it didn't get piecemealed out through episode after episode after episode.
Right. And so here's the thing. This is season 9, and, we've spent entire seasons on a couple of days, The entire all-out war, I think, it took place over like 3.5 days, and it was like the entire season.
Right.
Yeah. And so we have these time jumps. We've actually caught up with where we would be, 9-10 years in. We are on season 9. So I'm digging it.
Good point.
Yeah, this is where we should be. We just did away with all the fluff in the in-between.
Although it sounds like there are some significant things that are going to come out.
And I did see that there will be some things told in flashback.
Okay, so this kind of leads into Rotting Potpourri, and the first thing I want to say is that Michonne is in a really dark place.
What did somebody say on the show that they half expected her to pick up a telephone and be talking to her dead husband? Yeah.
I mean, she said the path ahead has only gotten darker and harder to see.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, God. So she is in a really, really, really dark place.
She's going out on her own looking for stuff. And she's going to the Rick Grimes Memorial Bridge to talk to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is not a good frame of mind to be in 6 years later.
And so at first I thought it was just mourning Rick, but the more that they made reference to, since it happened, I was like, since it happened, are they talking about? No, they're talking about something other than Rick dying. Yeah. I really feel like there was something more significant that happened, and it had to do with that wound on her back.
Oh, that X.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot wait to find out what that is.
Right. We know that's not throwaway.
No, definitely not.
So what else you got in your Rotting Potpourri?
So we talked about Aaron's prosthetic and Henry becoming the blacksmith. I wanted to point out that the blacksmith was Earl Sutton from Hilltop.
Still Earl Sutton, yeah.
Yes, who was the guy who attacked Maggie.
Yeah.
So he's still around and still working. Let's see. I don't know what to think of the Walker pulled carts.
So I have to say, and this was perfect timing. There is a moment like that in those Peter Meredith books.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And it's really pretty clever.
So here's the thing. Like, I'm okay with Michonne using them as camouflage, using walkers as camouflage, like leading them around on chains. Like, that's like for self-protection. I don't know about using them as chattel, basically. Like, it's weird. These were human beings. This was somebody's mother, father, daughter, son, brother, sister, wife, like, and now we're just using these shambling corpses as our slave labor. That's really weird, but I guess, the Saviors even said they got too hungry and ate their horses.
Well, it's kind of in keeping with the way that they've treated walkers in the past. They used them to guard the fence. They nailed them to the fence.
Yeah.
They were using them as scarecrows when we saw the opening part of this season.
I was uncomfortable about using them for manual labor specifically, but then I'm also like, but we use the horses for manual labor and we're fine with that. So
right.
I have no idea how to feel about this. I'm so conflicted.
Well, fortunately, Carol took away your conflict.
Right? Carol was having none of that.
So, how do you feel about Carol lighting the Saviors on fire? I feel like it was a little gratuitous.
I think it was spot on.
Do you really?
This was Terminus Meat Poncho Sniper Carol.
This was Karen and David are dying of the plague, and I'm putting them out of their misery, Carol. Maybe meets Terminus Poncho Carol.
Yeah, because she wasn't even really doing it for her ring back or anything like. It wasn't because it was Savior Jed, who hated the boss lady or anything. It was he had hurt Henry, and he was taking the things from people that worked for them, and that she was obviously taking food someplace to Hilltop, and it was just
and it sounds like maybe they even had some supplies that they had taken from people who went out and disappeared, people who never came back.
Right. So how else are you going to deal with it? The Saviors were dumb to leave her alive. Like, Really? You're going to leave Carol, you're going to piss her off, and then you're going to leave her alive in the area.
I'm also surprised in the area that it took 6 years to come to this place.
I was very surprised about that too. I thought that we would have confronted this a long time ago. Because it doesn't seem like they had left the area.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like there was that big a radius to roam.
Well, and so that kind of goes to maybe they had taken things from people who had disappeared. These were road pirates. I mean, you had that back in the day where
they were highwaymen.
They were highwaymen, yes. Yes. And they just ran across the wrong person at the wrong time and didn't follow through, and they paid the ultimate price. I thought the burning alive was a bit much, but how else are you going to take all of them out in one fell swoop by yourself without your son hearing?
And they're going to turn into crispy walkers because she didn't nail any of them through the brain.
That's true.
I didn't even think about that until just now.
That's true. That's one thing that is still kind of bugging me about the walkers is they don't seem to be desiccating or decaying at a quick enough rate. It's like somehow they were preserved, because like the walker that stood there long enough for his tree to grow around his arm,
he still kind of looked like a walker.
Yeah, like he, with being exposed to all of the elements for 6 to 10 years at this point, he really should have just been a pile of sinew and bone.
Although, by the way, the little bluebird was cheeseball but sweet.
It was, except I have a bone to pick with that also. The bird would have eaten the worm and would have masticated it and then vomited it up.
Yes.
Yeah, regurgitated it into the baby bird's mouth. It wouldn't be feeding the baby birds whole worms.
Yes, you're exactly right.
Not that I live around a ton of nature or anything.
So one of the things that I wanted to bring up was the little figurine that Michonne found in that box.
Oh, I call it the cowboy because, of course, it's supposed to look like Rick, but really it's just a cowboy figurine.
No, so I actually was like, do you really think that was a commemorative figurine? And they confirmed on Talking Dead that it actually was a figurine that was modeled after Rick.
Right, it was in our world.
In their world,
it was a cowboy.
Yeah. But I thought that was really cool. As someone who was bemoaning to you before we got on about all of the collectibles I've got sitting around, it was very cool to see that.
Because you have a figurine that has the Rick pose.
Yes, I do, but it's a better constructed figurine than that.
Oh yeah. I forget what they're called.
The Eagle Moss figurines.
Yeah. This just looked like almost like one of those little plastic toy soldiers, only it was a cowboy.
Totally. It was kind of a caricature versus a true rendering or a truer rendering.
Right. But the feeling was there.
All right, so I got to ask you also, what do you think about Rosita and Gabe?
Not as weird as Gabe and Jake.
That's funny.
I don't know what Rosita sees in him because like I said, Eugene had some really good dialogue with her in pointing out that, basically I believe in science and he believes in fairy tales and I don't think you believe in fairy tales. So what are you doing with one-eyed preacher? I don't see what these two have in common, talk about. They're on a completely different level. Neither one is better than the other. It's just that it's
maybe it's just because it's the apocalypse and they want to be getting it on.
Like Da Vinci said, I think it was Da Vinci, a bird may love a fish, but where will they make their home?
I don't think they care at this point. They both make their home in Alexandria.
I guess. Although she still has to have her little outings, her time away from him.
It makes sense. There's also some foreshadowing that I will be interested to see if it comes to pass, and I'm just going to leave it at that. So remind me that at one point I said there was some foreshadowing about Gabriel, Rosita, and Eugene, and we'll see if it actually comes to fruition or not.
Okie dokie. I will have to try and remember that one.
Yeah, totally a comic book thing again.
Yeah, I do have to say that I was not as squicked out about those two kissing as I was him and Jadis.
That's really funny. I was not bothered by him and Jadis. I actually thought it was kind of cool.
I had to turn away.
Oh, that's so funny.
It just, it was, I don't know. It was wrong. It was wrong. I could see him settling down Rosita, and I don't think she'd ever be the great preacher wife or anything like that. But I can see her having more of a calmness about her, having less drive and anger.
Well, she's definitely not as desperate to fit and as desperate about the fact that she's not fitting as Jadis was.
Right. Right.
So what else do you have?
Well, I actually have something from the last episode that we missed. And I'm really disappointed in myself that I missed these two things. The shack that Rick took refuge in when he was being chased by the walkers. Mm-hmm. They made it a point to show the name on the mailbox of Cardile.
Right.
Cardile?
Yeah, I remember that.
So that is a callback from the original movie Day of the Dead.
Really?
Dr. Sarah Bowman is played by Laurie Cardile on Day of the Dead.
Very good catch.
Well, the film was the first experiences with The Walking Dead executive producer Greg Nicotero notched his belt. In the film, Cardile's character was the only one of very few to survive. And the way that they survived was they took a helicopter to a deserted island.
Oh, that is crazy.
So Nicotero intentionally put that in there as a callback to Day of the Dead.
That is super cool.
And it gets cooler. So the movie Evil Dead.
I saw that.
Okay, so the little shack that he went into actually resembled the cabin that Evil Dead takes place in. And not only that, if you look very, very closely next to one of the dead people, between the dead person and the pistol that's next to them, there is an actual Necronomicon.
No way!
Yes way. The pictures are online.
Cool. That's so cool.
Yeah. So there were two call-outs to past zombie movies that are some of Nicotero's first loved. Of course, he worked on Day of the Dead, but he was, I don't think that he did anything with Evil Dead.
No, I actually think he did.
Did he?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I think it was Evil Dead 2.
I'm going to check.
Okay. But yeah, so, of course, he did do some stuff with Day of the Dead, but he also, anytime he can in his work, he likes to pay homage to George Romero, who we all know and love as the person who brought us the modern zombie, basically.
Oh, wow. Did you know he did some of the effects for Preacher?
Nicotero?
Yeah.
That doesn't surprise me.
That's pretty cool.
Basically, anytime you see a cool effect, Nicotero probably had something to do with it. Whether he taught the person that did it how to do it or what.
Oh my God, his list is so long. He worked on Drag Me to Hell, which is a movie that Nick's cousin worked on.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I'll totally have to ask his cousin about Greg Nicotero.
That's funny. Yeah, so I just thought it was very, very cool that they included these super tiny little Easter eggs. And like I said, there was something about this shack that was not throwaway. And I just couldn't get it off my mind. And when I was reading some articles today, I came across the Day of the Dead Easter egg. And then I came across the Evil Dead Easter egg. And I'm like, oh my God, there was a Necronomicon in that shack.
Evil Dead 2.
Oh, see?
Yeah.
Yep. Evil Dead 2. I knew it. I didn't think, because Evil Dead 1 only had it was made for like $15,000 and had like 8 people on the crew.
He's pretty amazing. He has touched so much.
Yeah. Yeah. So I thought that was super interesting callback Easter eggs that they managed to get in there without most of us noticing.
Well, I've got a couple of other things about this episode.
Go right ahead.
Do you really think Michonne can speak for Hilltop?
Michonne's... Oh, no.
I mean, she's basically said, look, I can take you to this other group.
I think she's going to try and put in a good word for them. But
I just kind of felt like she was taking a big leap.
So why are we not keeping them in Alexandria? That's my thing, is there's got to be a use for people.
It goes back to whatever thing happened to Michonne that made her even more leery of strangers. I think we're going to find out.
I seriously almost quoted Negan unintentionally. I almost seriously said, people are a resource. But they are. I mean, we need people to rebuild bridges and fix wagons and dig trenches and pick carrots. And, again, I feel that, as if you're trusting them enough to be sending them to a sister community, then you should trust enough to keep them with you.
Right. You really shouldn't shovel your problems off on another community.
Right. I mean, if the issue is...
If you're that worried.
Yeah, if the issue is you don't trust them, then you wave goodbye, and that's that. But they're taking them to I mean, does Hilltop have a lack of people? Or and that could be it. I mean, maybe they don't have enough people to work their farms or something because all of the saviors left or were just killed by Carol or something, but so I guess maybe that they're in more dire need of help of working hands than anybody else. But it seemed like the kingdom could have used a few people. Their stuff's fallen apart.
I just felt like it was really brash of Michonne to talk for another group, especially since it seems like the groups are somewhat fractured.
Yes. There seems to be some strife.
And then I guess the other thing that I had in Rotting Potpourri, and then I'm probably done unless you've got something else, is I thought that Judith's comment about I'm starting to forget their voices, I hope you can still hear them, was really heartbreaking.
Oh, yeah. Because, I mean, she was only 2 when her dad died.
She was 4.
Oh, sorry. She was 4.
Yeah.
When her dad died. She was 2 when Carl died.
No, she was, I think, oh no, you're right.
We took the 18-month time jump.
You're totally right. So she was maybe pushing 3, but you're right.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I don't know how many of you have memories prior to, preteen. I've got a couple that go way back. I actually have I legitimately have one from near infancy, but it was a traumatic one. And I remember being in the hospital for surgery when I was 2, but that's it. I mean, other than that, most of it's just flashes here and there until about first grade.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of memories early
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. So I can't imagine losing my father and brother. Of course, you would forget what they sounded like.
Mm-hmm.
It's not,
Well,
it's not like she has the luxury of going back and listening to his voicemail greeting
to their
over and over.
podcast.
Yeah. Their podcast. We were just discussing that. Diane and I have no children. So like in 100 years, no one's going to care. Our the only thing we leave behind is our podcast.
Right. Dust and podcasts.
Dust and podcasts.
So you got anything else in Rotting Potpourri?
I think that is it for Rotting Potpourri.
I do have a comment about this week's episode, and it's from John Sliney. John, I hope I'm saying your last name right. And he says, "The Walking Dead without Rick is no Walking Dead for me. I'm sorry, I just can't get past it. I wanted to, but I can't. All episode I ask myself what Rick would do. Where's Rick? This episode sucks. I hope Rick makes an appearance. I really wanted to try to get past him not being there, and I'm going to give it a few more episodes, but I don't think I can."
Stick with us.
I know. I was super sorry to hear him say that, but there are other people who feel that way, and I, as much as I don't feel that way, I think it's legit.
I know.
I mean, you've got to feel the way you feel, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And this has been a lot of time to dedicate to a series, and of course I podcast about it, so I am going to watch it and continue to watch it and watch all the compendium shows and read all the articles. But there are other series that I loved, like the first 2-3 seasons, and now I've got like 8 seasons of them built up on my recordings, and I'm like, I'll get to them someday.
And I'm telling you truthfully, this is the only thing I watch faithfully from episode to episode.
This Doctor Who, and I just got into The Rookie with Nathan Fillion.
Oh, how is that?
It's really good.
Oh, I really am interested in that.
Yeah. I wasn't I didn't watch Castle with him in it. And I want to, but it's just not high up on the list.
So
but now that
when and what is it on?
It is on one of the 3-letter channels.
I want to say CBS, but I'm not sure.
I kind of want to say CBS also. But it is on Tuesday night, so it is on actually right now.
You're missing it, but you're recording it.
Yes. And avoiding Twitter.
Okay.
Because it always pops up on my Twitter, big.
Everything to know about Nathan Fillion's The Rookie. We're totally diverging. It's on ABC.
Okay.
And you said it's on Tuesday nights.
Yep.
So it will air after the ABC's Tuesday night block from 10 to 9 Central, following the new series splitting up together. So I will have to look for it. In fact, I'll have to see if it's on later and if I can record it.
Oh my goodness. So I boosted our post for our last episode, and it was approved, and it ran for like 3 days. And now I get my ad was denied. Your ad wasn't approved because it doesn't follow our advertising policies. We do not allow ads that contain shocking, disrespectful, or sensational content, including ads that depict violence or threats of violence.
What was shocking or disrespectful? Or violent?
Idea. I have no idea.
Good Lord.
Thanks, Facebook.
I guess we'll just have to put posts of flowers up from now on.
Look at the flowers.
Right? You and I will know what that means. The listeners will know what that means. Facebook doesn't need to know.
That's funny. it reached a number of people before they took it down, and they took it down 3 days after they approved it. That's really weird.
It's ridiculous.
It doesn't say anybody reported any of the content, and it's just the advertisement for our last episode.
I wonder if it's the picture of Rick, because Rick looked bloodied.
Yeah, I guess, but like there's not a ton of Walking Dead bloody pics around the Facebook. Weirdos.
I don't know. It's ridiculous.
Some Russian bot probably. So, is that all you got for this episode?
I think that's it. I think that's a lot. We've talked for a long time.
We have. We always seem to do that on the middle books.
I didn't feel like I had nothing on this, though, so I feel like this one was legit.
Yeah.
All right, so just remember,
take it
one
dead
day
at
a time. Hey, we finished together. All right.
It must sound different on your end.
So I hope everybody has a good week, and we will see you next week for episode 7.
Episode 7.
Yeah.
Yep. Happy belated Veterans Day to... It was Veterans Day, right?
Yes, and I don't know if Bri still listens, but thanks, Bri.
Yes, and to all the other veterans out there.
Yep.
And if you are anywhere near California, our hearts go out to you. And if you're not, donate the price of a cup of coffee to the charities that support the first responders for the fires, because wow, a lot of people went through some scary stuff. Some of them.
And if you look at Jenna Elfman's Instagram, Jenna Elfman has some good links.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. Some people didn't make it out of the horrible things that they, went into. There's been some pretty scary video posted of people trying to escape, and I don't think that they waited too long. I think this is just so fast moving. I mean, faster than anything that these, fire officials have ever seen before. And with the two converging into one mega fire, there was a lot of people that didn't make it out, and a lot of people that have nothing to go back to. I mean, they don't even have no home to go back to. They have no neighborhood, and they have no town to go back to. So it's a really sad thing, and our heart goes out to you. Donate $1, donate $5, and hopefully the world will be a better place next week.
Here's hoping.
Yep.
All right, everybody, have a good week.
Be good to each other. Have a good week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.